Diogo. So could you please share your reflections with us?
Okay, good afternoon. It's not a very easy task to make a discussion about these five so different cases, but I will try, and I will try to be short. I would like to start this discussion saying that the five presented cases, despite the great difference that they present in its content and methodologies, are interesting set of cases that giving us an overview of the systemic character of our educational systems. In fact, we have the pleasure to see the presentation and discussion of five cases that have very different but complementary and synergetic aspects. Five cases focus in very different levels of analysis of the educational systems, but despite the particular interest of every one of them, they can have a great potential of change and innovation if they could be systemically considered all together. What I mean, we have listened two cases centered on the top of the system, on the teacher training, on the standards. We have a case centered on the school middle management. We have two cases, school self-evaluation and the learning designers. And we have at least a case centered on the pupils' learning. So we have different levels of analysis of the educational system that we must consider together and related and with a systemic point of view. I just only comment two of the five cases that, from my point of view, are the most interesting cases that we have listened here, and also are the most interesting cases considering the Portuguese reality. So, my first one case, with respect of all the five cases naturally, is the Austrian case. The case focuses on learner designers of the new middle schools. Learner designers are middle schools managers or interface leaders that supporting peers in curriculum and instructional development related with goals of equity and excellence. I stress here the use of these two concepts in what we can call a happy marriage, because they are often used, as we know, as a conflict and non-compatible concepts. So the qualification of the line designers as middle school leaders is an insightful aim to foster innovative learning environments and increase equity in the new middle schools, as it should be in any other school. By establishing a proximity work based on network seems to create conditions to deep collaboration and distributed leadership, not only in the plan of the qualification program, but also and mainly in school daily cultures and common practices. The used methodology based on face-to-face sections and in the online platform can be an interesting strategy to support and deepen the nature of the emergent communities of practices. However, the great lesson that I can stress from this case is the given relevance to the learning designers as middle leadership structure in helping schools, teachers, students to give their goal to equity and excellence. I believe that the present case should be an inspiring case for policy for our countries, despite all of big difference that they present between them. The second chosen case is the Scottish case. Revising and republishing the teacher education standards in Scotland. I note that reviewing and revising standards correspond to an exigency of changing times that we are living. In my point of view, standards are crucial elements to identify what is central in importance for the preparation of students, teachers, or school leaders. So, despite the repeated accusation of overdose of changing, we must be aware that adapting frames of reference that guide school policies is a fundamental and a critical issue in order to gain great professional self-direction. In this context, reviewing standards is also a central mechanism for quality assurance in the teaching profession as a condition of lifting the professional status of teaching and school leadership. So, it seems to me that the presented case is based on substantive advances and professional knowledge based on research and the broad consulted and shared process presents a strong potential in order to create and provide innovative frames of effective teaching and leadership, to create and provide frames for professional learning and that enable school leaders to develop the attributes and capacities embodied in the standards, to create and provide methods for assess and recognize the work of the teachers, and to create and provide conditions to promote, as Hamilton has sublined, to promote social justice, equity, and learning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, José, and I would like to ask Marc Leunis to share his reflections with us.
Thank you, Nora. I have the unpleasant task to end because I know everybody's hungry and tired. So I will be short. I won't be discussing any of the cases that were presented in this session. Already a few were discussed on, but I would like to take a step back and look to the process from the side of policy making, because I think the aim of this PLA and the next one and 20 is to offer to policymakers the good practices as cases to work with. So I think when you take a good practice and you want to transfer it to another setting or another country, you have to take into account that most good practices are set into a specific context. It's not so easy to take a good practice and transfer it in a whole to another setting. So from a point of policy making, I would say give us policymakers a good description of the case with the critical success factors, with proof and effects of the impact. But I think personally what I would like in a good practice is also to know where did it go wrong during the process, and how did you encounter those problems, how did you solve them, because that's something where you can learn from, so you don't have to make the same mistakes. So I think transfer can only happen rightly if we identify the real success factors and the impact of the process, and leave out what works in the specific context. So I would say give us that proof and we can go along. And what I think is important, what we've been doing in recent years, what we've learned is when you're gonna take a good practice and try to take it into your process in your country, I think it is important that you take all stakeholders in dialogue from the early beginning and from the early start. Don't make a law and impose it to which is often done by policymakers still this time, but talk to them from the early beginning, and I think you will learn that in your country there are already many good practices among your school leaders, your teachers and your schools that you can learn also from. You don't have always to look abroad, but you can learn a lot from your own teachers, leaders and schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marc. I think your remarks were really good concluding remarks. And I think now it's lunch, but before that, Pavlos would like to say a few words.
not for best practices. The good news is that it's time to eat. Lunch is already, a buffet lunch is already waiting for you upstairs. The bad news is that this lunch is not going to be very long. We convene here back at 2-ish with the beginning of the French session. The French session will, the working language is French, but there's a simultaneous translation in English provided for all non-French speakers. But you need to take headsets in order to hear the translation from the booth. I mean, when you arrive, please take headsets which we provided for all non-French speakers in the booth at the back. Papadakis. Yes. No. People, we will lock the room and everybody can leave their stuff in bags. Yes, more USBs are out at the registration desk for those who